and the cyber risk, you need to have a very good handle on, work with your IT professional to say, right, how can we protect ourselves using your expertise to manage the risks by the way we do our business. And then insurance is the afterthought.
Welcome to the Business Behind Your Business, conversations to help your business grow and thrive. Hi, I'm Paul Sweeney, founder of Pretium Solutions, chartered accountants and certified business advisors, hosting the Business Behind Your Business. Welcome back. We hope you've been enjoying our series on cybersecurity with Luke Iacovelli and Dave Ferris. Thanks to UNITECH IT Solutions, we have 3 copies of the book, Surviving the Rise of Cybercrime by Craig McDonald, to give away. To find out how you can win your copy, keep listening and we'll tell you how to win at the end of this episode. We've been looking at cybersecurity and what it is, the risks for you as a business owner and what you can be doing about it. And we had a chat last time with Luke and David about how cyber insurance works. And the important question that we didn't answer last time was, what happens when you need to make a claim? So I guess moving forward though, the key question that I think everybody's now asking is, what happens if I do have to make a claim? What's the process?
Well, I guess the key is if you're using a broker and the broker has placed that risk transfer mechanism for you, engage with the broker straight away, because some of the policies actually mandate that you utilise their forensics in the event of a claim, because one, they want to maintain some privilege in that process, because it could be a rogue IT consulting company that's left open portals for access to be made, and so at the end of the day, you don't want that guy going in to try and mitigate a problem because he won't be able to cover his trail. So there's a process from the insurance point of view, but insurance companies do utilise the cybersecurity resources of the company's own providers as they sort of interrogate what's happened and what's the damage and what needs to be done from here, because quite often the third-party provider will have access to backup facilities. So the key is if it's an insurance product, then you contact the broker first and they'll work with you in that next stage. If you're without insurance, I guess, Luke, they give you a call.
Yeah, absolutely. You would definitely give your IT provider a call straight away. And I guess from a technology perspective, I guess the first steps that we would do would be to immediately isolate whatever that cyber attack is, whether it's ransomware, whether it's a phishing email or CEO fraud, whatever it might be, whatever type of cybercrime it might be, isolate that immediately. And then likewise, we also go through diagnostics to find out sort of where it came from. How did it come about? We go back and check, security measures and policies put in place, and as I said in previous podcasts, quite often it's the user that clicks on the email, and that can be from a personal computer as well, which is also accessing corporate networks. So, that whole BYOD, bring your own device concept, is also an important one to consider. But then we go through that process to identify where that's come from, what the cause might be. And then, if need be, restore based on backups, which, offsite backups, which should be tested and working, to recover the company to a point where there's minimal downtime and minimal loss of data. And then, that might require some review process and then, put some mitigation measures in place to try and ensure that it doesn't happen again. There's also a lot of examples, online of, companies big and small that have been hit, and targeted, and so, understanding what they look like and how the big companies respond sort of helps gauge how the smaller businesses would do so as well.
So what would be some of the steps involved? So obviously we ring the broker. If we don't have a broker, we've got to go to IT. But let's say what's a common one? So somebody gets infected by ransomware.
Denial of access, ransom demand. Yep.
So what would be the steps that would normally happen in that process?
From an insurance perspective?
Yeah, from the insurance, yeah.
Well, what we're obliged, and some companies are obliged, depending on their size, to notify a breach, a mandatory breach reporting. But the whole is we would engage directly with the forensic teams, the claims teams within their insurance company. And that starts a ball rolling, which is impossible to stop. And so because they're exactly what Luke's talking about, the idea of they've got to try and quarantine the loss as much as possible. So it's understanding, and this is at any time of the day, because you could be working weekends or late at night, and so you've got to be able to have a response 24/7. So quarantining, and then forensically identifying the cause, and then how to mitigate and eliminate. Because even when you're talking backups, I mean this infection could be existing in your system for 200 days, so it's in 10 months of backups still. So the backups have to be interrogated as well. So there's a process, and the insurance companies are ready to roll. They know how to roll because it's important to act quickly. A couple of hours delay can be extremely detrimental to a business. And then without insurance policy, if you're relying on your own risk management, you engage your cybersecurity experts, your consultants, and they would actually be doing probably exactly the same format: the isolation, identification, thinking about the mitigation, and then the controls in place to restore.
Right. So what sort of costs are covered in the insurance claim process? So the IT costs?
You buy a limit, all right, and that limit's based on the exposure you have, but that covers the areas we spoke about those response costs. So it covers those costs, and those response costs could be paying a ransom, which we've seen many times. And quite often the ransom's paid in cyber currency, cryptocurrency, because it's challenging to trace. And then any other costs that are incurred to restore your business, because sometimes it could be nuisance malware, which just makes your systems run harder and faster and wear them out. So any hardware costs, any physical costs, and then any of these defending legal action costs as well. So it's really any costs incurred as a result of the incident, up to the limit that you buy.
Okay. And Luke, David just mentioned talking about the ransomware could be hiding in your systems or making your systems work harder in the background. My understanding is if you're engaged, or like a managed service IT company is engaged, they'll be picking these variances up in their monthly monitoring of your system.
They certainly should be. Yeah, absolutely. So the purpose of managed services is a proactive response. So in many managed service packages, there is agents that are installed on computers, servers, infrastructure, both on-premise or in the cloud, including things like 365 and Azure and some of those cloud-based systems. And they monitor. They're monitoring, user access. They're monitoring the machine itself. There are a number of, I call them the kind of the top 365 security items, which is multi-factor authentication. There is an advanced management, Azure Active Directory Advanced Management License, which provides a top-level reporting on user activity, which also allows for, the ability to lock conditional access from, locations around the world that are selected by the business, depending on how you operate. And finally, backup for 365, backing up the data that's also in the cloud. Not many people realize that your data that's sitting in 365 is not necessarily being backed up. In fact, it's actually not. Microsoft make that very clear in their T's and C's, which no one reads, but, they don't tell you that your data is not backed up. You need to engage with a third-party backup of that 365 data. So in the event of a compromise of some sorts, with all this monitoring and checking and testing of your backups and these security measures in place, in a perfect world, theoretically, an attack happens, we should be able to restore your network to a point reasonably quickly with minimal downtime, and not necessarily needing to pay any of those ransoms. But, that's not always the case. It's not always an ideal world, and it depends on the situation, which is where I guess the insurance and the risk is absorbed by those insurance companies. But yes, your IT provider should be doing those checks for you. They should be monitoring your networks, and they should be reporting back to you proactively whether there is any issues or whether there is anything that needs to be looked at.
And as the business owner, you have a responsibility to actually review that information that you're getting from your IT provider and act on it when they do bring matters to your attention, because we see a lot of what I call delegation turning into abdication of responsibility. The IT person's looking after that. I don't need to worry about it. But or we've got insurance, so we don't need to do anything. You do need to be proactive, and as a business owner, you are responsible for the IT and the insurance, even if you outsource those responsibilities. So.
And I guess the real key here is that cyber risk is just one risk that's inherent in a business. And we always recommend that you need to take a proactive risk management control over all your business risks. And the cyber risk, you need to have a very good handle on and work with your IT professionals to say, right, how can we protect ourselves using your expertise to manage the risks by the way we do our business? And then insurance is the afterthought. It's not the risk management tool. You need to have your risk management, cyber risk strategies in place to service your business. And then the insurance becomes a simple fallback, that's all. Because you won't get insurance if you don't have those measures in place anyway. And so it's just a fallback. It's not the solution.
Yeah, that's a really good summary of the process, David. Yeah, very helpful to have that. Luke, I think you've got some statistics about what happens to small businesses that do have a cyber attack, how many actually recover.
Oh, look, I mean, there's a lot of statistics out there, and the numbers are staggering. Somewhere in the vicinity of 60 to 70% of businesses that get sort of attacked by a cyber attack very often fail to recover or are unable to recover. And we go back to that whole 9 out of 10 times it's come from an email from a user. And the small businesses, whether they haven't invested in the security measures or have turned a blind eye to it, they're the ones that will struggle. And in most businesses within 6 months, will suffer immensely from those attacks. So it's important to really understand those risks that David was talking about and how that impacts your business. But also as a business, talk to your staff. Ask them, where do you think our risks are? Because every department's different and everyone's using different systems. So just really understanding that, and help prevent disruption to your business.
It's actually a really good point, Luke, because the biggest weakness in any of these systems are your people. It's the human error, and engaging with your staff and having them on board and understand their obligations and responsibilities and the privilege they have in dealing with other people's information, and work with them on understanding their responsibilities for privacy and confidentiality. Because that weakest link is that one employee that opens that one email, which looks legitimate, can actually bring a system down. So, yeah, people, really important part of it.
Absolutely, it's called the human challenge. So making sure that the staff are aware, and that comes down to sort of awareness campaigns and other measures that can be put in place to help educate and sort of bring to the forefront some of those challenges. So that they know what to look for. Well, that email doesn't seem right. Let me do a couple of checks to make sure that it is legitimate or not. And even if it is legitimate and something still doesn't seem right, just ask the questions or just to probe a little bit more to determine before you click on anything, just to make sure, because that certainly can prevent a catastrophic disaster.
And Paul, like Luke, we've got an abundance of resources and websites and things we can link people through to gather more information and sort of learn more about this cyber engineering sort of risk profile. And so, more than happy to make those sort of sites and links available just to help educate people.
Great. And so, David, if our listeners are interested to have a look at those resources, what's the best way for them to do that? Is there a website they should go to?
Just contact the website, all the W's, riskybusiness.com.au, and I can be accessed through there.
Great. And Luke, how do our listeners contact you if they need that strategic review of their IT exposure?
Yeah, absolutely. So they can visit our website, which is unitech.com.au, or they can give us a call on 1300 IT help. We'll be happy to have that chat with them and guide them in the right direction.
Great, fantastic. We'll put links to those contact details in the show notes. And thank you, Luke and David, for your time again today. It has been fantastic and a real eye-opener about some of the steps that need to be in place and some of the things that can actually be avoided by putting in a bit of work and getting your strategy in place and reviewing it on a regular basis. So thank you for your time. I think it's been an absolutely great discussion, and I think everybody should be aware of what they need to do.
Fantastic. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Paul. Good to see you.
We hope you found our series on cybersecurity valuable. There are many actions that you can easily implement for your business. But if you've missed an earlier episode, you can find past episodes on our website, www.thebusinessbehindyourbusiness.com. Or you can follow and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, Stitcher, Podchaser, and many more podcast players. So if you'd like to win one of 3 copies of the book, Surviving the Rise of Cybercrime by Craig McDonald, this is what you need to do. Follow The Business Behind Your Business on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram. Share the link to this episode with your comment, which includes hashtag The Business Behind Your Business podcast helps me run a great business. So there are 3 copies available, and if you'd like to check out more about the book, there is a link in the show notes. Thanks for listening. Do you have a question you'd like our team of experts to answer? If you do, send your question to podcast@thebusinessbehindyourbusiness.com. To hear more from The Business Behind Your Business, don't forget to subscribe using your favourite podcast player. Or you can visit the businessbehindyourbusiness.com website.